Hello, and welcome back to the weird WrestleMania. God, this is all so weird. Otis's cakes came home to roost. Sasha Banks was finally out Sasha Banks by Bayley, and we crowned new champions, but that was all on night one. This is night two. As ever, the rules are as follows. I filmed this on Monday, the 23rd of March, so if WWE has, between me filming it and WrestleMania, somehow made it worse by introducing, then I plead the fifth. Coming at you not live from WWE's Performance Center, it's WrestleMania 36, Night 2, Electric Boogaloo. Let me have a go. So we start with Sami Zayn versus Daniel Bryan, which feels like WWE's way of saying, sorry about the virus, here's a little treat. I mean, sure, it's not as hype as it would have been had Sami Zayn not spent the last 2 years trying to crawl out of creative's taint. However, fuck it, it's some great wrestling, and like Owens and Rollins on night one, give them 20 minutes and get her done. Please just get out of this match's way and let it happen. There is a temptation to overbook this match, having Cesaro, Nakamura, Drew Gulak, this weird, uncanny thing where SmackDown has all of the best wrestlers in the world but does dick with them. So right away we have Drew Gulak brawling with Nakamura and Cesaro on the outside. Then the referee gets to do what all referees dream of doing when they grow up one day, which is say, you, get out of here! This leaves Daniel Bryan versus Sami Zayn, and honestly, if you give me 20 minutes of it, I promise for the rest of the year, I will not complain. I promise for the rest of the year, I will not complain. Daniel Bryan wins that match, wins back the IC title that he never lost, and then he can do what he was always destined to do with the Intercontinental Championship, which is have endlessly great matches and never lose it. Next pay-per-view, Daniel Bryan versus Cesaro. Yes, please. Next pay-per-view, Daniel Bryan versus Shinsuke Nakamura. I'd buy that for $1. Next pay-per-view after that, Daniel Bryan versus Nakamura versus Cesaro versus Sami Zayn. Take me away. Point is, it's a good idea. Please let me have him. Moving on now to Elias versus King Corbin. This is a bit less exciting. Elias and Corbin have both been great in the past. They both have the capability to be great. I think Corbin's probably a bit more great right now, so I think he should probably take this one, but like, yeah, this is a SmackDown match, huh? It makes me feel really sad to say Elias should lose, but if he's not playing guitar and ragging on your local sports franchise, like, does Elias work in an empty arena? I mean, Christ, the Drifter was once considered like the next hot property in WWE. That makes me profoundly grumpy, but never mind. Elias runs into an end of days and he loses, and King Corbin gets to go back to re-establishing some mid-card heel credibility after the worst dog and dog food based feud in the history of wrestling. And that includes the one where a guy had his dog ground up into dog food and then he ate the dog. I'm including that one. I'm sorry, this isn't the most exciting bit of the video. Here's a clip of Ollie Davis riding a Segway dressed as Wonder Woman. Oh, I hate that. Backstage we see a promo with Edge and Beth Phoenix, and he says, whatever you do, do not come to the ring tonight, because what I'm gonna do and what Randy's gonna do, there's no coming back. Next up, the first of two tag team triple tussles on tonight's tribute to tentpole tangles and tawny tumblers. Okay. Next up, the first of two tag team triple tussles on tonight's tourney of Next up, the first of two tag team triple tourneys on tonight's Titanic. Next up, the first of two tag team triple tussles in tonight's Titanic tribute to tentpole. Next up, the first of two tag team triple tussles in tonight's tribute to tentpole tourneys of tawdry tumbles and tangles. God damn it. Next up, the first of two tag team triple tussles on tonight's Titanic tribute to tentpole tawdry tussles and tangles. Oh. Next up, the first of two tag team triple tussles on tonight's tribute to tentpole tourneys of tumbles and tawdry tangles. No, I almost had it. Next up, the first of two tag team triple tussles on tonight's Titanic tribute to tentpole tawdry tumbles and tangles. That took So many takes. I don't have a teleprompter in isolation. It's the Kabuki Warriors versus the Divas of Doom versus Bliss Cross Apple. Hang on. Hey Ollie, it's me. Yeah, I'm good. I just wanted to double check. Is their actual tag team called Bliss Cross Applesauce? Really? Fuck. Is it really? All right. Cool. Cheers, mate. I'll let you get back to wanking. Love you too. Yeah, it is. So remember last year when the Iconics capitalized on Beth Phoenix hitting Bayley with a top rope glam slam, they threw her out of the ring and got the pin? Well, after Beth Phoenix constantly being shat on at WrestleMania, the only time she's actually won at the event was part of a Playboy Lumberjill match. And let's not, of course, forget the time where she lost the Miss WrestleMania Battle Royal to Santina Marella. After that, one of the best wrestlers of the Divas era gets some Mania vindication, and also, you know what? Like, she's the worst promo in the world, but Natalya deserves a bit more at Mania 2 other than being part of some random tag matches and then helping in the slow motion murder of a very old man by a very old man. So this time it's a fun match, everyone gets their spots in, and then Beth Phoenix hits Nikki Cross with a top rope glam slam. Then Kairi Sane runs in and tries to throw Beth Phoenix out and steal the pin. Beth low bridges her because Beth Phoenix has learned, and then she covers Nikki Cross for the 1, 2, 3. Divas of Doom are the new women's tag team champions, and if you feel like I'm burying new talent with this, let's not forget that the women's tag team championships are currently Death, and Asuka and Kairi Sane really should be splitting apart and feuding with each other because they are so good as singles wrestlers. Does anyone remember NXT? Speaking of Death, it's AJ Styles versus Ghostman Pat, aka Bea Frazier, Be Veria Frazier, aka Prince Grievous Bodily Charming, aka it's The Undertaker. So far in this feud, AJ Styles and the OC have been, to quote Jules Verne, some punk-ass, fool-ass bitches. 3 men in the prime of their life have been unable to outwit the slow-moving machinations of an unmovable wizard. Like, genuinely, I think The Undertaker should just return as the American Badass, because at least he'd get to the ring quicker. And you know what? Real talk? I think The Undertaker should return as the American Badass. Like, I know the American Badass was by and large bad. He was not in his best shape and wore jeans all the time. And if I wanted to fight AJ Styles, I'd just go to the Performance Center and start waving a globe around. But let's be clear anymore, Dead Man Undertaker is not scary anymore. He's in his 50s, so like he's not an old man, but he's been competing at a top level for so long, he can no longer compete at a top level, and the aura of mystery around Undertaker has really started to wane. And that's fine, WWE should just let The Undertaker retire. But yeah, like in his current abilities, he doesn't quite carry a supernatural aura to him, but as a pissed off badass Texan, yeah, that's still in his wheelhouse. Also, AJ Styles has been making it real. He's been doing shooty cowboys about Undy's wife, Michelle McCool, and it really does suit that temperature of the feud better to have Undertaker, as he did on that one episode of Raw, just show up wearing his jeans and being like, I'm a throwdown, it's a parking lot, I'm not even gonna watch my kid's game, I'm gonna put you through a f***ing windshield. Also, AJ Styles should 100% win this match. Now, I love Ghastly Johnson as much as anyone, but there's only so much ability he has to put over young talent. Like, it's not an infinite resource, and he should absolutely not be asking AJ Styles to wrestle himself, basically, bump around him like a marionette, and then not even get put over for his f***ing troubles. And the good thing about Undertaker showing up as the American Badass is it does mitigate that loss, because then you can just say, oh, well, he didn't beat the Dead Man. And then if you want to revisit that feud maybe at SummerSlam with an actual live crowd, then you can escalate it by having the Dead Man return. So AJ Styles just beat the American Badass, but that is still at least beating Taker at Mania. It's something. Give AJ Styles something other than an Atlas. So in terms of actually booking this match, AJ Styles comes down to the ring with the OC. Taker vrooms down on his motorbike, immediately grabs a lead pipe out of the back and leathers Gallows and Anderson, sending them to the back. So it's just Styles versus Taker. Styles bumps around for 5 minutes, and then he starts to go to town on Undertaker's leg. I mean, he goes to town on that leg. He gives that leg the works. He is all up on that leg. AJ Styles and Undertaker's leg have only just discovered their estranged siblings. They're going to spend the next entire year reconnecting. Point is, AJ Styles focuses a lot of offense on Undertaker's leg. Like, he's quarantined with that leg. Him and that leg discover that friendship was the real buried treasure the entire time. AJ invites the leg over for bridge, but the other couple bails at the last minute, so they just end up playing cribbage the entire night. But it turns out AJ and the leg have really good chemistry, so they decide to meet up and do it again the next night without telling the other couple. AJ Styles starts to focus his offense on Undertaker's leg. Undertaker catches AJ Styles as he goes for the phenomenal forearm. He tries to swivel him around into a tombstone, but his leg gives way. Then he tries to get AJ Styles up for the last ride. His leg gives way. Then finally, AJ Styles counters a chokeslam into the calf crusher and holds it in there for like 3 minutes before the Undertaker taps. He doesn't pass out. He taps. Like I said, there's only a finite amount of shine Undertaker can give people. Even at WrestleMania, he's been beaten twice. The only thing I can think for Undertaker to gift Styles, and this is what this match has to be about, gifting Styles because he's the one with time left on the clock, is a submission victory over Undertaker at WrestleMania. And also, it's far easier to see the American Badass tap than it is to see the dead man. Next up, The Miz and John Morrison versus The New Day versus The Usos, and I've used up all of my alliterative T words, so let's just talk about this match. It's for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, and honestly, after the Undertaker match, you just need something with a lot of movement, a lot of different moving parts, something fresh, guys flying all over the place, something to re-energize people at home. There's not a lot of story here other than exceptional teams being given the time to do something great, but there is something we can inject into it, which is that the Usos and The New Day, they are destined to do this forever, and that constantly gives Miz and Morrison windows of opportunity, because New Day and Usos can't stop fighting. Closing spot, Big E picks up Jimmy for his part of Midnight Hour, then when Kofi jumps off the top turnbuckle, he gets caught by a super kick from Jay. Big E plants Jimmy with the big ending anyway, then he nips back up to a super kick from Jay. Then finally the Miz sneaks up behind Jay, hits him with a skull-crushing finale before John Morrison leaps off the top rope with Starship Pain. 1, 2, 3. The Dirt Sheet escape with their belts one more time. Next up, you think the voices in your head know me. Edge versus Randy Orton. Last man standing. The result is not really in question. Orton has promised to end Edge's journey, and Edge has just signed a 3-year contract, so I don't think that's going to work out for Randall. And in terms of story elements at play, it seems to revolve around 3 main things. Randy wants to permanently retire Edge. They've both been using the concerto a lot, and also there's this big glowing video game red weak point underneath Edge's chin and above his shoulders. The 2 men brawl around the arena. Edge mostly has the upper hand. He's kicking ass, looking great. He's very chiseled, do the whole, ooh, look at your lovely bumpy tummy. The 2 men brawl up the ramp, and then Edge goes for a spear. Orton moves out of the way and throws Edge into the LED screen, and he lands shoulder first and neck first. Edge immediately goes down and clutches his neck. It's a scary spot, and that's when Rattlesnake Jake shows up. First, Randy pulls out a chair, puts it down in front of Edge, sits on it, and just says to Edge, "Edge, please, let this be enough. Just let it be enough. You came back, you look great, but this is it. This is where you go home." Edge, very slowly, clambers to his feet, eyes never leaving Randy's gaze, and Randy goes, "God damn it," and drops him with an RKO. Randy sits down on the chair and he starts bellowing, tears in his eyes. Also, again, you need to have spots like this because this kind of stuff is what works better with no fans, when you can actually hear the superstars talking to each other. Randy Orton again sits down in the chair and he's got tears now and he's shouting at Edge, "Let it go. Let your career go, or I will do to your wife what I did to Matt Hardy." And then Edge wakes up, he's almost moving on autopilot, but he spears Randy Orton while he's sitting on the chair, and both men go down and Edge is clutching his neck again. It's a really scary looking spot, and both men only just beat the count. Randy DDTs Edge one more time, and then he goes and gets a chair. He places the chair underneath Edge's head. He grabs his chair that he was sitting on and raises it above his head, and then thinks, "No, I can't do this." He takes the chair that was underneath Edge's head, opens it, closes it around Edge's head, so the top of it is right on his neck, and then he stands over him. and he raises the chair to hit him. Beth Phoenix runs out and she gets in the way. She just shields it, saying, please, Randy, don't. Please, Randy, please don't. And then Randy relents for one brief second, and then Beth Phoenix right in his venom sacs. She grabs Randy, she throws him off the ramp, and he smashes through some production equipment left on some tables on the outside. Then, from behind Beth Phoenix, you see Jeff Hardy walk out. He hasn't got any of "I'm a weird frog that if you lick me you'll die" face paint on. He looks down at Edge, just normal Jeff Hardy. You remember that the Hardys were Edge and Christian's greatest rivals. He looks down at Edge, he looks at Beth Phoenix, nods, and then jumps off the ramp, hitting Randy Orton with a swanton bomb. Edge very slowly, by himself, clambers to his feet and then collapses on Beth Phoenix's shoulder, beating the 10 count. Edge wins the last man standing match. He celebrates with his wife. It's been a fantastic night for both of them, and then, because it almost caused him to lose the match, almost caused him to lose something much more important, his career, again, Edge decides to finally, please, retire his spear. Time for the semi-main, Shayna Baszler versus Becky Lynch, and Becky is going to get trucked. Like, okay, it shouldn't be a squash. No one should compete at Lynch's level and be completely dominated. But honestly, her character kind of needs this right now. Firstly, this should be Baszler's match because you don't ruin an entire elimination match to create a monster and then don't let that monster be monstrous at the point where it counts. And second, Becky has been she's so great. Last year, her story was one of adversity going up against Charlotte, Ronda Rousey, the Authority. She was the underdog, and that cocky swagger gave her this stone cold, against all odds, everyman confidence, and we love that. The problem is, over the last year, apart from a brief, really good feud with Asuka, Becky Lynch has not had any good storylines that challenge her either creatively or physically. Like, a challenger steps up, gets defeated. Challenger steps up, gets defeated. Challenger steps up, and at no point Becky Lynch has ever really been humbled or been forced to question herself or been to a low point. I mean, that happened with Asuka, and that's why that feud worked. But now, after this entire year, Becky's braggadocious character attitude, it doesn't seem underdog anymore. It seems more entitled, like she's turning up wearing meme sunglasses and also a crown and in a monster truck. Like, I don't get it. Are you trying to make her wacky? Like, she's been the face of women's wrestling. She was the face of 2K20. Big commiserations about that, by the way. She spent a lot of the time dominating with Seth Rollins whilst he was the top man in the promotion. Like, she is the brand right now, and yeah, it just doesn't seem like she's ever fighting against the odds anymore. Whereas now, with Shayna Baszler, she is, and the odds are stacked against her. To be clear, I don't think any of this is Becky's fault, but without meaty storylines, what can a character do but stagnate, if not challenged? Enter the Queen of Spades, and hell follows with her. Lynch gets a few hope spots in, sure, maybe even locks in the disarmer, but other than that, this is Baszler's match. She cuts off every comeback that Lynch has, locks in the clutch, and then Lynch doesn't even pass out. She taps. Because this is what humbles Becky Lynch. This is what sends her back down to make her rediscover her underdog route. She has to challenge herself once again. She has to work harder once again. And then the rematch between her and Shayna Baszler, still the Raw Women's Champion, that's your SummerSlam main event. And speaking of main events, Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar. To quote Wallace and Gromit, again, you want to finish this pay-per-view with a simple let them fight kind of match. Just get out of the match's way and just let it happen. Don't need to overbook it at all. The simple question has a simple answer. Can Drew beat the Beast? Answer, yeah, he can. Yeah, he can. See, there's a standard way to do a Brock Lesnar main. He dominates for a while, suplex, and then finally a hope spot window is opened by either a kick to his bollocks more often than not, or a lucky shot, and then finisher, and then either Lesnar catches you in the last finisher, or you hit him with one more and you pin it. That's how it's sort of been the last 2 years. However, I think if you really want to showcase Drew, have him buck the trend a little. Have him shoulder block Brock down at the beginning of the match, because Brock, surprisingly, can do wide-eyed disbelief selling really well, lean into it. Brock can never get a dominant run going against McIntyre. McIntyre even starts hitting Brock with some German suplexes, because he's a big tall boy, he's a big beef boy, big boy Scott Beef bought beef, Scott Beef, Mania beef. The finish is McIntyre hitting the ropes 1, 2, 3 times for a super claymore, and Drew, WWE champion. And the crowd goes, oh. And that's how I would book Mania 36. Both nights, 16 matches. I think I'm done now. Let me know how you enjoyed the video in the comments, and if you liked it, please do pay us back with a like and a subscribe. And why not check out No Rolls Barred, also on partsFUNknown, if you want to see our entire first season ending with the colossal tussle, our most recent episode. We dress up in costumes. It's really nerdy, but it's really great. One more time, please do support wrestlers by buying their merch where you can. Make sure you stay safe out there and enjoy WrestleMania, everyone.